classmates because, for example, at Woodruff especially, and Phoenix, if a group of guys lived in one area or one part of town, and you showed up by yourself, that's considered or looked at as being selfish. Especially if we live in the same neighborhood. Yeah. Practice is at 4 o'clock. I'm worried about getting there early so it could look good on me. Really, believe it or not, that was really cool.
Well, some guys want to be the first. Welcome back to another episode of the Mendable Hustler podcast. I'm your boy G, and with my co-host Atoro.
You gonna make it. Yeah. Keep your head up. You're a king. You're a queen. Yeah. You got this. Sleep less, grandma.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the Mendable Hustler podcast. I'm your host G, and with the one and only, the co-host Atoro. And we have a very, very, very special guest with us today. Father, entrepreneur. For those who don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Gary Gallimore. I'm the owner and founder of Trench Life Apparel. I went to St Xavier University, played basketball there. Former national team member, 2 bronze medals with Canada. And for those of you who are younger and don't know, I am also one of the older brothers to Neville Gallimore, who was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys last spring. So yeah, Gary Gallimore. Happy to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you, man. Thank you for coming, bro. And this is something been waiting for. I wanted to connect with you. Over, I think last year, I reached out to you, and I was like, "Yo, we have to do something together." Mm-hmm. And I remember you saying that, "Yeah, I'm very busy right now, but I would love to." Here I am. Here we are today. Finally, here to just connect and get to know more. I've been watching you from afar for a long time, and I've been looking up to you as a big bro. Just admire how you carry yourself, and yeah. But before we move forward, I'm gonna let my co-host take us.
Right, so we're very happy to have you on board. Chelsea speaks highly of you, and he obviously was telling me a lot about you before you came in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So with every one of our guests, we normally start out with the same question. Mm-hmm. Right? So in order to sort of get a good idea and get a good structure of questions to ask you, we sort of ask you in terms of tell us a little bit about your background and your upbringing.
Okay, so I was born in Jamaica. My father was a farmer, and my mother was at the time just a housewife. My mother came here in 1988, and we followed back and came here in 1993. So I've been here since 93, born in Jamaica. I have 2 siblings, and that's just basically it. I grew up in a Christian household. My parents are Christians to this day. So that's also a big part of who I am as a person, is my faith and my beliefs, which is how I basically govern myself on a daily basis. What I read in the Bible and what I've learned growing up in church and stuff like that are also, there's a lot of lessons I've learned that allow me to move how I move and carry myself how I carry myself. Yeah. And I also do my best to pass those on to my children. They're very small now, but I teach them as much as they're able to understand, and then obviously over time I trust that they'll grow in the direction. But until then, for now, that's my biggest, not my biggest project, but the one thing I'm passionate about is my family and how my wife and I grow together and raise our children.
By focusing on our childhood, I think it's very important to understand that it's a very important part of our development, mm-hmm. and it shapes a lot of who we are today. Right. And obviously, you coming from Jamaica at a very young age, there was a lot of things that you had to deal with. So can you talk about some of your struggles when you first got here, and how it has helped you become who you are today?
I think was definitely the transition of coming to a foreign country. You know, obviously growing up in Jamaica, I understood things one way, predominantly black country. For me, I mean, as a child, everything for me centered around Jamaica. I thought it was the biggest country on the planet. I I remember initially thinking that everybody that looks like me or has dark skin came from Jamaica. And I remember when I came to Canada, you know, I said that to my mother, and she said, "No, that's not how it works. Like, even though everybody's black, everybody may come from somewhere different." So that was obviously a learning process.
How old? Sorry to cut you off.
I think I was 9 years old at this time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was nine years old. So in terms of struggle, maybe I don't speak French, and I still don't to this day.
Yeah.
But you know, obviously going through school, French was something that was taught to me. I had to learn that, or try to learn it.
Right, trying to learn, yeah.
I spoke with back then I spoke with a legitimate Jamaican accent.
Yeah.
Which was for a lot of people more entertaining than anything else, and I think that kind of took away from a lot of who I was at the time, because a lot of conversations people were trying to have with me wasn't to get to know who I was as a person, even though I was 9 years old. It was more so to hear me speak so they could laugh, and also, you know, have me sing these silly songs that, you know, that rappers were using a Jamaican accent to portray or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, just to get past that. But in terms of you know, just the bottom line is just for me to adapting to the education system as well.
Right.
Learning the way, you know, people learn in Canada. I mean, you could say it's similar to where I was coming from, but growing up in Jamaica, a lot of stuff was done. You did it yourself. Like, especially when coming here, learning to use like technology, for example.
Yeah.
That was obviously a step up from what I was used to, you know, and just learning to cohabitate with other people and just, you know, I guess be Canadian, because up until that moment I was Jamaican. And the thing with Canada is it's kind of a melting pot. There's so many different cultures. Learn to adapt to other people and respect other people, and just grow in the community, understanding that, you know, even though I'm a Jamaican, you know, I have to respect everybody else around me, or learn to understand everybody else around me, even though I was just 9 years old. But that's just how it was. That's just how the school system was, and that's just a few things. Initially, I mean, obviously, as you grow older, there are other struggles that you encounter. Some of them you may create yourself.
Yeah.
But you know,
that's crazy.
Some of them it's just a growing process, and you just learning how to move and navigate
and
through life.
Adapt to a new culture kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And for me, like, we kind of have like almost similar kind of story. I came here in 2005, and I was 13 at the time when I just turned 13 when we came here. The whole family. And like, I didn't speak the language whatsoever.
Right.
I spoke Portuguese.
Right.
My first language, and to adapt to a whole like new culture, like everything different. You know what I mean? To a country more developed. So you're trying to fit in, but you can't speak the language. Everybody's different.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? I had a hard time to like fit into crowds, or like people the same skin color as me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, one of the questions that I have for you is, was it hard for you to kind of like fit in?
I would say kinda, because I'll say this, I have an older brother his people skills are immaculate.
Okay.
Me, not so much.
And
people may not understand or know that, but
right.
I'd rather just be like inside my house, my family, and I'm not too much of a public gathering. Yeah, exactly. I don't really like being out in the public too much or too long. I'm kind of an introverted. Yeah, I'm kind of an introverted personality. I don't really, if I don't have to be around people or large gatherings of people, I don't. So yeah, so that's also something. But when just something I'm growing into, because in a sense I have to. especially as a parent, I'm going to have to be places with my children.
Yes, yeah.
Where I have to take leadership because they can't do it themselves.
Right.
And just other things, business-wise, I have to learn to also, be able to communicate and reach other people and basically market myself and market my brand to other people. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, focusing on the diversity aspect, you did mention that coming from Jamaica, you had like one clear perspective, right? In terms of just like only knowing black people and just seeing black people. Now coming to a country as diverse as Canada and just seeing a number of different cultures and coming to learn from many different people, just having many different perspectives. By learning all these different perspectives, did you feel like you could connect to people a lot much more closer than how should I say, than a regular person who doesn't really interact with many people from different cultures?
Right. So for me, one thing that worked out in my favor over the years was I played basketball.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to play it at a pretty high level, pretty competitive level. I started playing I made Canada's national team program my second last year of high school. So
Nice.
So from 2002 to 2007, I was a part of the program. I traveled globally. I've interacted with many different people, many different cultures. So, and I also played professionally overseas. So I was able to touch and integrate myself in many different cultures and learn to, navigate and make myself available, learn to communicate, learn to, to allow other people into my life to a certain extent. So I have had that opportunity just through basketball. That's kind of like, that made it easier, so to speak. So even though I am an introverted personality to this day, those experiences make it easy for me to come out of my comfort zone and to have certain conversations with people, to be in certain spaces with people if I have to. So those experiences definitely have groomed me in that sense. I'm able to do it, but if I don't have to do that, I don't do it.
That's so true, man.
Yeah. If that makes sense.
It does. I sort of messed up with the question, but you got it.
Okay, it's all good.
Yeah, man. I experienced that too, because when I came here and the experience, just to see the difference, how was it back home, how was it here, and I got an opportunity a couple years ago to go to Cuba just to see a whole another different culture, right?
Right.
But like with the experience that I have now, how like you kind of like expect that already in your mind because you have a little bit of experience just from traveling.
Yeah.
So knowing that, I just knew what I was gonna expect to see, how it was gonna be. I was just ready to experience a new culture because like they different, right? So going there, and I was so interested in like asking questions, how they take care of themselves and just finding more, just get to know about the country.
Right.
So that helps just get out of your comfort zone and actually get to, just to see how people live in other places.
Right.
So yeah. So like now going, like one thing that I wanted to know, which high school did you go to?
Woodruff.
Oh yeah?
I went to Woodruff High School. Initially, actually, because I lived in Bayshore up until grade 9.
Okay.
So I actually went to Bell High School in grade 9, which is not too far from here.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I went to Diablo Moody, which is in this area as well, for intermediate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but after grade 9, my family moved to Ramsey. So Woodruff was my home school at that point. So I went to Woodruff from grade 10 until I graduated high school. So.
Oh, okay. Wow. So, and then after high school, you went to St. FX, of course.
Yeah, in Nova
Can you
Scotia.
tell us a little bit of experience in St. FX?
St. FX, it was a great experience for me, and it's nothing against the local schools, but for me, again, I wanted to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even as a kid growing up in Jamaica, one of the things I always wanted to do was to get on an airplane and see what else was out there.
Yes.
And when I got that opportunity, it's kind of like, you know, I wanted more. You know, I played on the national team, the junior national team, whatever.
Just your second last year.
My second, no, my last 2 years of high school.
High school, okay.
I made the team my last 2 years of high school.
Yeah.
And I went to, the first time I made it, we went to Venezuela for a world qualifying tournament or whatever, world juniors qualifier tournament. And so I became interested in, you know, seeing what else was out there. And that was the same for me why I chose St. FX, because, you know, while Ottawa was home and we don't really have great universities here and all that, I wanted to go somewhere else. And the opportunity came for me. You probably know him. His name is Dion Williams.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes,
Dion
sir.
went to St. FX.
Yeah.
And Dion also came out of the same basketball program I came from, the Out of Phoenix program.
Yes.
So when it was time for me to graduate, the coach had reached out to Dion to kind of put a word into Coach. The guy's name is Coach K, Coach Steve Kunchowski.
Okay.
So we call him Coach K. And he, you know, Dion made that connection. Coach K came down here, you know, he saw me play, he saw some tape, and he, you know, Andy Waterman from Out of Phoenix and Adrian Cadet had put like some scrimmage together, like a showcase.
Yeah.
And he came and he saw what he liked. So from there he started recruiting me. So, but before even that, like,
had any other offers?
yeah, before even that, like I was like most people that play basketball. You know, you want to go to the States.
Yeah, it's
No,
true.
that's real. It's real.
Especially at the time.
Yeah, it's
like,
real.
Everybody want to go.
Yeah,
there.
it's real.
Yeah.
And that you know, I had some low Division I offers. Even for example, the time I committed to go to St. FX,
Yeah.
I was scheduled to go on a recruiting trip to Binghamton University. Which is upstate New York.
Yeah.
And I remember I was supposed to go Saturday, and then Wednesday I went and I told Adrian Cadet, who actually taught at my school, who was also my Phoenix coach. And she coached me in high school basketball as well. And I told her, look, I made up my mind. I was just tired of like the running around and the uncertainty. Outside of the Ottawa schools, the only person that was consistent was Coach K. And because I wanted to go away, I kind of like relied on that. And the fact that he came from Nova Scotia, he came to Ramsey, you know, he sat in my living room. He spoke to my parents. He wasn't awkward or anything about it. You know, it was just natural for him. You know, my parents loved him right away. You know, they respected the way he carried himself. And he didn't tell me a bunch of foolishness. He didn't make me a bunch of promises.
Yeah.
He basically said, you know, there's an opportunity for you. You can come here and you could earn whatever you get is going to be what you earn. And that's kind of how I move anyway. Like, I don't expect handouts from anybody.
Yeah.
I show up and I let my work do the talking, and you know, that's how you win at St. FX. I went there for 4 years, played 4 years there, and you know, 4 good years, and graduated.
You felt more comfortable. You felt like feels like more like home.
Yeah, and on top of that, like I said, Dion was already there, and Dion was kind of like.
So you played with Dion?
Yeah, I played with him 1 year.
1 year. Okay.
So he was kind of like the big bro to me, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I watched Dion all through high school because, you know, even back then, St. Pat's was way more dominant back then. And not to take anything away from you guys.
It's true.
It's just the history of St. Pat's during that period. In the West was Woodruff, which was my school, and then on the East was St. Pat's, and then overall in the city was St. Pat's. But it was always, I remember, grade 10, it was your senior team versus my senior team in the finals, and my junior team versus your junior team in the finals. So that's kind of how it was. So Dion was somebody I was familiar with, somebody I respected, and he also played Phoenix. So I played 1 year with him then. So you know, the relationship kind of grew from there. So it was a good opportunity to go there, and it was probably my best year as a player because I had that support from him. And there was another guy that played at Woodruff. That was older than me. He played a couple years. He was a couple years older than me. He had played at Algonquin, and then he also was going to St. FX as well. So it was kind of like, even though I was leaving my family behind, I had 2 guys I looked up to, like kind of like big brothers who were going to like help me along the way. So that kind of helped me a lot in my decision to go to St. FX. I know I rambled on, but yeah, that's
good, man.
Yeah.
So during those 4 years, that you kind of had an idea, like what was the next thing, or like you had plans to stay there 4 years?
No, because you know we get 5 years to play in Canada. Initially, my goal was to play 5 years.
5 years? Okay.
Yeah, so I went there, and also, my goal was to play 5 years, but it was in my 4th year I was like, I'm not gonna graduate university and then go back another year and just to play ball. That to me was a...
Your program was 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would have graduated in 4 years, then I have to go back and make up another year.
Yeah. Just
That to me, yeah, just to play basketball. I didn't want to do that. I mean,
most of the guys do that.
Yeah, most of the guys do it, but the frame of mind I was in at that moment, that wasn't the move for me, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to. At that point, I felt like I had done enough to give myself a chance to take my talents to another level, which was overseas. So I felt like at that point that would have been the move to make.
It's so good that you say that, because I kind of like found myself stuck too, because in high school, like the whole focus, the main focus was like it was just like a tunnel vision. It was just basketball, and you kind of like forget to kind of like get to know yourself before you get out of high school. For me, in my opinion, I'm speaking for myself, because when I got out of high school, when I went to college, I didn't know myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the only focus was basketball, because I'm just looking at the people around me, the friends that are close to me, and my peers. It's just basketball. Basketball is life. And when you start to really get to know, you're starting to see the big picture, and you're not getting any younger, and for you seeing your peers surpassing you, just like some of the guys going overseas, some of the guys graduating, moving on with their lives, and you just like, and you still have the same mindset, basketball, and you're starting to realize that basketball is not gonna be the future.
Right.
In my case, then I was like, I'm looking, some guys that coming back after they graduate, they're actually looking for programs that they can take to come and play basketball. So I was like, I had to be real with myself and be like, you know what, I really have to kind of like take a step back, because the program that I was taking, I wasn't enjoying the program, and there was nothing that I was gonna use in my future or what I wanted to do, and pretty much I was just lost. I didn't know what I was gonna do.
Right.
So what I did, I took a year. I just dropped out of college, and then just like went back to the basics. You know what I mean? Just to try to like figure out, because a lot of the people, they just get lost and they don't understand that you're actually paying for school. Yeah. Or you're taking a loan. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And they just get lost, and they just focusing like, and the thing that they're doing, they have no idea if it's gonna be their future. It's so good that you said that, man. Now, so after your 4 years to graduate, what was the next thing? What was the plan?
So going to my fourth year, my last year, at that point, I had sort of been telling myself that I'm not gonna play 5 years. Right. I want to go overseas. I felt like I had the experience to get there and do it. So at the start of that year, I told my coach, I said, look, this is going to be my last year, because I'm going to graduate this year. Yeah. I don't necessarily feel the need to come back and play a fifth year. And then I said to him, I'd like to go play basketball overseas. And I know that at that time he had gotten a lot of his former players overseas, so him getting me over there wouldn't be an issue. But he was very solid. He said, I'd love to have you for a fifth, but I respect your decision, and we'll go through the season, and once the season starts winding down, I'll start making those calls for you and plugging you into the people that I think can help you get yourself to the next level. So that was that. I went into the fourth year already with my mind made up on what I was going to do, and I made it known early, which made it easier for the people that were going to help me, for them to kind of like, I guess, play their position and help me do the next thing.
Yeah, I think you did. You played 5 years professionally.
Yeah, I played a total of 5 years. So my first year after I left St. Xavier, I played in the first division in Belgium. I played in the Belgian professional league, and then after that year, I came home and took a break. Yeah. It was bad timing when I took the break after that year, because it was the
You said after the third year?
After my first year overseas.
First year, okay.
I came back and I said, I'm going to take a
where
break. It was personal. I played in Belgium.
Belgium, okay.
So I said after that year I was going to take some time off, some personal stuff, you know, and it was a bad timing because 2008, that was when that recession hit, right?
Yeah.
So then in 2009, I thought it would be easier for me to get back, but because I hadn't played professionally that year, a lot of teams were trying to risk that because the money wasn't the same and they weren't. So if they're going to pay, they're going to pay for a player who they know has been playing consistently, competitively, and is going to be able to kind of like to produce right away. They didn't trust that I still had that after a year off. So I did that. Took that year off. It turned into 2 years off, and it was in the second year off was when I came to St. Pat's and was helping out helping
because you had the time.
Yeah, okay. I was assistant coach for the junior team with Dion Williams, and then it was after that year. Now in 2011. No. Sorry. I'm ahead of myself.
Okay.
So yeah, I took a year off, and then after that year, I played I played in the it's now the Canadian League, professional league.
Oh wow!
But before that, I want to say there were two Canadian teams. It was called the PBL. So it was two teams.
Okay, I remember.
So it was two teams. There was the Halifax Rainmen.
Yeah.
And then there was a team in Quebec City, and then all the other teams. There was a team in Puerto Rico. There was a team in there's a couple teams throughout the state of New York.
Professional.
It was professional, but it was silly.
Okay.
It wasn't the level of professional basketball that I played in Europe, in Belgium.
Yeah.
So, but I did it because I had taken the time off.
Right.
I needed to get back to the experience to get game tape,
get game
tape, and get in game shape and show that I'm able to compete at a high level. It didn't go that well. It wasn't a great experience. I actually hated the experience, and it was.
Is it because it wasn't as competitive that you thought?
It wasn't that. There were good players to me, but it was for me. It seemed like it was more entertainment basketball than it was like. I don't really care much for the showmanship of the game.
Yeah.
You know, especially like, for example, it's not exactly globetrotter basketball.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly professional basketball. So it's kind of in between. Like for example, like there was like a 4-point shot.
Oh, come on, man. That's not basketball.
And that to me, that says it all to me, right?
So
because
what's the 4-point shot?
I think it's like either half court or just before half court.
Okay.
You make a shot from there, it's 4 point.
Okay.
That to me is silly.
That's silly.
And that's no disrespect because there's actually really good players there, and a lot of really good players went on to have great careers overseas from there. But it's just the structure.
And player was actually getting paid?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was, but the way it was structured to me was kind of like clown basketball. So and so like I said, after that year, I actually said to myself, like, if this is all that's left for me, like in terms of what I'm aspiring to be as a professional basketball player, then I need to move on with my life. So I came back home again, and I was staying with my parents, and and then I wanted to still be around basketball. So that's when Dion had reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to help coach the junior boys at St. Pat's, and that's when you saw me there. Yeah. And I was there that year. And then fortunately, that following year, there's a guy from Ottawa who's from Romania. He lives in Ottawa. He's actually a big deal in Romania. He's an older guy. Yeah. He played for the national team, and all that kind of stuff. So he obviously goes back and forth to visit, and he had some friends in the basketball federation, and they encouraged him to take a coaching position in Romania. Nice. So he was looking for players. So he was having these tryouts again, and I was fortunate that Andy Waterman, again, he actually knew this guy because they had worked together back in the day at Carleton University. Yeah, and they had worked together. So the guy, Andy, told him, okay, Andy again put on some showcase, and the guy came, and for me, I was like, all right, this is like my last shot, So I was fortunate enough that he had a couple tryouts in Ottawa. He chose me from there, and he had another one in Guelph, and he chose me from there. And before that, at that point, I was doing these little, I guess these contracts or whatever with StatsCan. I was, temporary position with StatsCan or whatever. So I asked the guy, look, I said, at that point they offered me an extension, and I was like, look, it's either this or that. I just got been offered an extension with the job I'm doing. are you going to be taking me with you, or should I just focus on you? And he said, no worries, man. I'm going to take you with me, whatever. And so I cut that off, put all in, went with him to Romania. That itself was a different experience as well, because he took myself and 2 other guys. When we got there, the preseason, the training camp, I thought everything was going well.
Yeah.
After we weren't doing so well in the preseason tournament,
Yeah.
and after I think the second tournament, they fired him. Yeah, they fired him.
Whoa.
So that was kind of like a tough position, because I was really relying on this guy.
Yeah.
But I was,
because he took you there.
yeah, exactly. So I figured, and what I was hearing from like the Romanian guys is, the management's not happy with the coach and the Canadian guys he brought, so like, you obviously start thinking like, I can't go back, I can't get sent home, but I was doing okay, and it turns out I wasn't one of the guys they didn't want, because they wanted me there, and that turned out to work out in my favor.
Right.
I ended up playing in Romania for 3 seasons after that, finishing in 2014, where after that I got engaged and started moving in a different direction.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
So now I wanted to go and speak on marriage. So you said you got engaged. So you and your wife go way back.
We go back a little bit. I met her I met her again in 2010. She knew my brother because they went to school together. They went to Carleton.
Okay.
They worked together.
Your older brother.
My older brother.
Okay.
They worked together at Leon's Furniture in high school.
Nice.
Yeah. So and ironically, again, her aunt is married to Andy Waterman. So Andy coached me in Phoenix, and Andy was the guy that he made that connection for me to go to Romania. And how that came to actually was Andy was always encouraging me. He said to go do my master's in criminology, and he said, and she had just finished her master's at Niagara University.
Yeah.
So he put me in contact with her, and she was kind of like breaking it down for me, telling me her experience, and also, what I need to do if I plan to apply to Niagara University to follow suit and take my master's in criminology. So we had a few exchanges. We met, and I just, I kept messaging her. I kept messaging her just on it wasn't on no funny stuff. I wasn't sliding in her DMs, even though there was no Instagram back then. I wasn't doing nothing funny, but me and her, became cool, and we just had like really cool conversations, and it was just that.
No, it's kind of like you slide on her DMs. It's kind of, bro.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, so that's what it was, and just from there. And when we went to Romania, we became serious at that point. It was long distance, which was also has its challenges.
Yeah.
But I mean, she was solid. She stayed, she stayed down. She came to visit me.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, she came there. She came there several times to visit me. So that was good. And when I, in my last season, obviously at this point she's met my parents and everything, so they loved her. And I remember my mother telling me like, you can't really let this one get away, because if you let her get away, you're gonna be searching. Now you're gonna be searching to find somebody good. So I took her advice and kept it close to heart. And in my last season, I had came home for Christmas, and when I went back, it was kind of like while I was here, it was really. Gears were really turning, like, okay, and just a backstory. At this point, I'd actually had 2 knee surgeries because I had torn the meniscus in each knee, so I was in a lot of pain. I was in a lot of pain, man. So like even that was kind of like the push for me to stop playing, because I was in so much pain that there was times I would think to myself like, do I want to keep forcing this career? What if I have kids and and I'm not able to run around with my children and be active with my children because I ruined my body? So at that point I was really thinking about what's the next move, and that was it. And so when I got back to Romania after Christmas, I reached out to her mother. Well, I think I spoke to both my parents about what I was thinking and the direction I was going. And, you know, obviously they had my support because, again, I grew up in a Christian family. So
Yeah.
marriage is something that my parents encourage.
Yes.
You know, so I was going. My older brother at this point was already married and had already had several children, I believe, I want to say three children at this point. So when I went back, I reached out to her mother, and you know, I was like, you know, I told her what I was thinking, and you know, she was really happy, and she even went as far to say, I already know the ring that she wants because, you know,
She said that?
her mom said that. She said, I know the
Wow.
ring out because I was at her place. She was living in Toronto at this point.
Yeah.
So her mom was like, I think her mom said I was at her place and I saw her looking at some stuff on her computer. So her mom, and so I told her, so I said, okay, cool. I told the mom that, you know, okay, if you know, and the mom, I told her she went to People's, she put it on hold until I came home. And then when I came home, I bought the ring. I went and met with her father, spoke to her father, let him know, showed him the ring and said, you know, I'm thinking about marrying your daughter, you know, I'm here to seek your blessing, that kind of stuff. And then, you know,
That's crazy how you spoke to the mom before.
Yeah,
You know,
because
just to kind of like get a confidence.
yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
obviously, I feel like my now wife would most likely be talking about having those conversations with her mother, like quote unquote girl talk.
She's very close to me.
Yeah, it's gonna be like quote unquote girl talk. You know, sharing that kind of information. So and then when I came home after that season in June, we had actually went to Disney, which was where I proposed to her. It was at the Universal Studios, you know, where I had brought the ring, and we were going. I remember the first day we were there, we went to Disney, did all the, you know, the Disney stuff.
Yeah.
We've never done it. And she's
Yeah.
always wanted to do it. So and I remember I had the ring in my pocket looking for the perfect opportunity. And I remember when you walk into the park or whatever, you know, you see Mickey Mouse, the statue of Mickey Mouse on Walt Disney, and then behind it you see a castle. That castle, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as we walked in there, a guy went and he proposed to his girlfriend.
No way.
And I was like, I can't make that
Ruin
move
the
after
plan.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of corny.
Yeah.
So I had the ring in my pocket, and the whole time I was just walking around with it, like looking for the perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
Went the whole day, and nothing happened that day. So the next day we went to Universal Studios, which is more of like okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was there, and you know, again, we're doing all these. This is more like adult stuff, like roller coasters. It's the scarier ride. It's not like the kiddie stuff anymore.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And I remember we went on this roller coaster, and I was like, before it took off, I was like, now's the perfect time. But I was like, what if it takes off and I lose the ring? You know. That'd be silly. You know?
it, man.
So I was like, nah. So I kept it. And then we were walking around, and then Jimmy Fallon, he's like one of those night talk show host
talk
guys.
show, yeah.
So if you ever watch the show, ever so often they have like these skits at these theme parks where like they'll start something with one person, and then they'll hand it off in the next clip, and the next person will continue doing it, whatever.
Okay.
So what it was you would play a saxophone. So how it was, they start recording, and you pretend to catch it out of the air. It's like an air saxophone. You pretend to catch it out of the air, and you start playing it, and then and then you throw it. So then the next slide would be somebody else pretending to catch it. So I caught it. When they came up to me, actually, I whispered to the lady, "Okay, great. I'd love to do it, but I have this ring, and I've been walking around with it for 2 days.
Yeah.
Can I propose? Would it be cool if I proposed to my girlfriend on the camera?"
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, that's so awesome. So whatever, I did my part, and then she, I guess, I was playing it and she was dancing along, just for the effect. And then I tossed it, and then she was kind of walking away, and then I pulled it out, I tapped her, and will you marry me? all that stuff, whatever. So, and that's how that came about, and yeah, the rest is history, as they say. Yeah.
It's crazy how you can't really believe everything you see on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way you carry yourself, and just seeing by pictures, videos, I can tell that you have a solid marriage, And
Yeah.
when I say I look up to you, I see this little thing, because you know, when I got married, I was looking at the people who I follow, people who I think that I should learn something from.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like somebody that, you know, I make sure I'm always, you know, just getting some game, you know, things that I can use into my personal life.
Right.
But like, it's like just a little backstory of my marriage, because when my wife now, when we met, it was like kind of like a perfect timing kind of thing.
Right.
Because that was like when I was at my lowest, and I was still trying to figure out, trying to still find my identity, kind of like looking for a purpose kind of thing.
Right.
It's when I just like just fed up with school and just trying to figure it out. And then when I met her, she's someone that already had a career for herself, like somebody that just knew what she wants.
Right.
And when we started talking, I was just like, I wasn't sure if I was the guy that she was looking for.
Right.
But she wanted to get to know me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I just knew who she was. I knew I had to be somebody that she can rely on. And then that really forced me to work on myself. You know what I mean? And that was at the time when I developed this routine that I do now, the sleep less grind more routine. Is just waking up early, just trying to gain advantage on do stuff and actually do the stuff that I say I'm going to do. And I started doing that consistently, and then just the improvements with her beside me, it just helped me along the way, and then helped me to become the man that I am today.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, man, you know how a lot of people don't try to hide a lot of stuff from social media, but you are comfortable sharing like your family, you know, yourself, of course, and your marriage, you know what I mean? And I admire that, because that motivated me to do the same, because I know there's people that look up to me, especially with the brand, right?
Right.
I feel comfortable. Some people like, no, I don't want to put my kids out there, but like, no, I feel like, no, this is me. And just with the feedbacks that I get when people like, you motivate me every day, you inspire me to do this and that. So I'm very comfortable sharing like everything that I put out there. How you feel about that?
I think that's to a certain, well, for me, I do it, but I try to keep it as respectable as possible.
Yes, yeah.
You know, I don't want to put my children or my wife in any kind of compromising positions.
Yeah.
I don't want to, quote unquote, attract unwanted attention.
The wrong.
Yeah, the wrong. I mean, and I know it's not totally impossible, even with the posts I make and what I post on social media, because you just don't know what people are up to when you're checking out your
That's
page.
so true.
But for me, is I just want to show the little things that I value primarily. And if you look at my page, you'll see, you know, there's reference to, you know, to the love and respect and admiration I have for my parents.
Yeah.
There's obviously the love and respect and admiration I have for my wife, and then what we're continuing to do together. I also post scriptures from the Bible.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, coming from a Christian background, like I want to share everything. Like I'm not gonna just show you pictures of me, of myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that to me kind of gets a little arrogant, whatever. But I'm gonna show you the real. Like this is my day to day.
Yeah.
My day to day is my wife, my children, my faith, and you know what I do for a living. You know, that's meshed in there somewhere, and obviously, you know, working and trying to build the brand that I have as well. So I think a combination of those things are good, because it's telling a story, and it's letting people know like where you're at. So like, you know, if you're for real, you'll also attract people, or the admiration of people who are, like you said, maybe looking for inspiration or looking for guidance, or just looking for something to refer to kind of like reassure them that what they're doing makes sense for them, as opposed to just posting a bunch of rubbish on social media. That's not for me.
Yeah.
And you know, just based on the life I'm living, so I just try to keep it as real and organic, I guess, as I can.
I just like the fact that you're so consistent with the message. It's just always the same message. It just shows who you really are, you know. And I try to do the same thing.
Right.
Like years, I'm just like the only thing that I'm looking for is just like to the growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like I want to make sure my message today will be the same. But like of course you're trying to be better,
Right.
you know, especially in terms of like creating content and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah,
hard.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
sometimes
sure.
you feel like I gotta put something up there, but you
Exactly.
wanna make sure it's authentic, it's real, it's organic, right?
Yeah.
And that's why when I took the time from, like I was speaking off camera, I was telling you I took a break from social media because I found myself just like trying to compare myself and like felt like I was being jealous of other people, you know. And I took a big break, like almost 3 months from social media,
Right.
and just really just focusing on myself and asking myself questions like, what's the main reason you're on social media?
Right.
The brand, right? So focus on your brand. Focus what's the main reason why you started the brand? You know, and that leads me now to your brand.
Right.
And I send you a message. I don't know if you remember how your brand kind of inspired my brand too.
Right.
Well, inspired me to,
Yeah.
you know, create this brand and go ahead. Like I was saying, like in the beginning, it wasn't a clear vision that it was going to be a brand. But when I actually started having vision that, yeah, this could be huge, this could be a brand.
Right.
And in the beginning, that was just like a little a movement that I was creating to a hashtag.
Right.
Like same thing like yours, you know what I
Right.
mean? And I wanted to kind of like the vision that you had before like you decided to like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do some merch.
So just to touch, I want to touch back on like the whole content and social media thing right before I get into that. Yeah, that whole thing can be deceptive because if you start, it's easy to lose focus of what you're doing if you start paying too much attention to what other people are doing negatively. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
It's cool to have competition,
Yeah.
but if you're looking at what other people are doing and then second guessing what you're doing or feeling like you're not living up to it and they're better than you or whatever, then that's defeating.
Right.
You know what I mean? But in terms of content, I think looking at companies and how they grow and scale their company is probably the better approach, especially when you're on social media.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at what you're not doing, look at what you can do to improve and grow, which is where social media is great.
Yeah.
But when you get on there and you gotta understand, like a lot of people are posting stuff that's not real, and they're telling a story of something they hope to be, and if you get caught up in somebody telling you a fairy tale, and then you're cheating yourself and not fulfilling your potential because you don't feel you're living up to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you later find out they're not doing anything, then you're gonna feel like a clown, and you really cheated yourself.
Seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
So even so, with the brand part of it though, it did start again. Ironically, it started in Romania when I was playing my first season in Romania. I was out there, and because I felt like it took so long and so much time for me to get back to that to playing professional level. I was super excited and focused and motivated and was just giving it everything I got every day. So every time I woke up or any time before my practices, I'd put a one-liner out or say I write something on my Facebook, and just something like that I was hoping to accomplish that day or in that practice or in that game, and then I would hashtag it Trench Life. And then at the end of the season, I remember just sitting and thinking like, that Trench Life thing, that was pretty cool. It really helped me, and just the fact that I was sharing it, I felt like if it helped me, it must have been helping somebody else as well. Because obviously people are asking, what is the Trench Life? What is this? What are you doing? What does that mean? Whatever. And then, at first it was just like, it's just what it is, just what I'm using to motivate myself. But then at the end of the season, I was thinking like, I like the idea. What can I do with it? And at the time, because I was playing basketball, I had some basketball shorts made, which made sense because I was like, I'm playing basketball. Might as well go that route, the merch or whatever.
So you started with shorts?
Yeah, I started with some basketball shorts.
Okay.
I got them made, and I was just selling them like in the neighborhood to people I knew.
Yeah.
Just selling it out of my gym bag, basically.
That's the startup, man.
And people were buying it. The response was good. And then the following year, I did some t-shirts and some more shorts, and then I followed up with some crew neck sweaters and little pieces here and there. And I think it was I took a break. I took a large break actually in 2014 because at that year I just proposed to my now wife. So now my focus was now to put into getting married and then moving from there. So I took a break from that.
Especially when you do it by yourself.
Right, exactly. So I took a break. We got married, started having kids. So then I also had to make preparations for that part of my life as well. So the break continued, and then in 2019 we kind of decided. I was speaking to my older brother and a friend of mine. Kind of put our heads together and said, let's try to get online, whatever, put it all together. We got some pieces, and
that's when social media was just
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we got a little spot through Shopify and set that up, and then started selling from there. And here we are today, looking at ways that we can continue to improve and grow.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's lessons, took some losses along the way.
There's a lot to learn,
but I'm still learning.
Yeah, so now what's the plans you see the visions for the brand the next couple of years?
Well, the next couple of years, obviously, to continue to grow. I'll be very honest. I feel like there's a level I need to get to in terms of quality and production, which is what I'm seeking daily, and obviously looking for ways to improve that. Yeah. Looking for ways to decrease my restocking time, my turnaround time, in terms of, but the difficult part, difficult part of that is I feel like I'm kind of forced to look for manufacturers overseas as opposed to local, and it's strictly and simply because of pricing.
Yeah. The
local prices can get pretty ridiculous, and I'm not trying to knock anybody's hustle.
No, it's true. I experience that too.
It is very difficult to say buy 300 items at $25 a piece when I could get 50 items at $8 or $7 a piece, which then I can't guarantee I'm going to sell 300 items in the time period that I need it sold. But with 50, that increases my chances and also increases the chances of me selling, restocking and selling within reasonable amount of time. But with that, it's difficult because the pricing is just so difficult. It's hard to find good manufacturing right now at the pricing that I need it to be at, and so that I could produce and meet the needs of the people that I'm supplying to. But the goal is obviously to continue to grow, continue to look for opportunities to increase the potential of the business and the brand. And also, I have a younger brother now who's playing in the NFL. I would love for him to look good and feel like what I'm putting out there is at the level that he's at, because I don't want to shortchange him by saying you're my brother, go and wear this or wear that or whatever if it's not up to par, because he's standing next to a guy who's sponsored by Nike, sponsored by Adidas, sponsored by Under Armour, and their stuff, those are the brands that are really kicking it in the market. If my stuff is not good enough to stand next to those guys and look good on him, I don't feel like he needs. So that's also
needs to wear.
Yeah, he doesn't. And I tell him that it's better for you to go with an established company that's gonna, obviously first of all, is gonna pay you what you deserve. Because realistically, I can't do that for him right now. As we grow, we hope to do that.
But I think for him, he always will support you.
No, 100%. And that's the thing though. Because he will doesn't mean that I'm gonna allow him to do that. It's on me now.
Force him to.
It's on me now to get it to where he's at. I have to meet him where he's at. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to work to get the brand up to where he's at, so that if he's wearing it, the quality is good enough, and it may seem competitive to the other companies out there that other guys would also want to wear and support.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I know you focus on the quality. I'm pretty sure, I'm positive that you 100% sure that you also focus on bringing the value, because it's not just about selling the clothing.
No.
It's what's the value that you what she's bringing to the table.
Exactly, and also a big part of it is what I'm giving, what I'm putting into people's lives.
Yeah.
Not just the material part of it, but
Or just a name.
Yeah, or
like
just
some
a-
people think now.
yeah, or
They
not
just have a sick name.
no,
dope
man.
clothing.
You have to, and like I said though, and you can attest to that.
Yeah.
Before I even put clothes out, the Trench Life thing was something I was using to feed myself,
Right.
feed my dreams, as well as other people. Same thing with the
It's a
sleepless
lifestyle, yeah.
The same thing with the sleepless grind more. Like I used to see you do your stuff, your workout, your
Yeah.
meal prep, and all that kind of stuff.
Right,
You know,
right.
those are things that, for someone who's trying to, like, for example, live a healthy lifestyle, you know, get in shape, you know, be the best version of themselves. Those are steps they have to take.
Right.
A lot of people may not know how or may not be comfortable doing it on their own until they see somebody they know do it.
Right.
So little things like that, you know, that's the value you create by building a community initially, by supporting people. By doing that, you're supporting people or encouraging them. So now when you put your merch or your clothing out there, you know, you'll be like, well, I was there when, you know, they helped me through this, you know, and this speaks to me. You know, I represent this because now I'm a part of that. They feel like and that's important. People have to feel like they're a part of what you're doing if they're going to support you. You have to.
And like, and the other thing too, can you still keep the same message when like from the beginning, from the start out, right? This is the message that you came up. Can you stay consistent with that message?
That's
know?
it. Consistent.
Yeah.
You have to be consistent, though. You know, again, you don't want to start something and then get a bunch of people excited about it, and then you're not living what you're preaching. And it's going to look silly on your part as well,
Right.
Because now it's kind of like, even though they may be benefited from it now, they're going to be looking at you from like, yo, this guy's a faker. You know, he's not authentic anymore.
What's going on? Yeah.
He's just in it for the bag or in it for the money. You know,
Right.
Why would I want to be a part of a brand that's inconsistent?
And people can see that.
Yeah, for
People
sure,
can
for
see
sure.
that.
People, especially if they're spending money, like they're looking at you and they know what's up with you or what you stand for. You have to be consistent. In terms of being consistent, you know, just be truthful, be yourself.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Be yourself, because if you present yourself, your true self in the beginning, and continue to present that, and I think you do that, you know, because I mean, you hit me up at like 3:00 in the morning, and that's what I'm used to seeing you do, the sleepless grind more stuff.
It's real. It's not fake.
Yeah,
bro.
even in
Oh, he actually wakes up early.
yeah, you know, yeah, exactly, and I noticed that from jump, because even your posts were like, you know, I see your posts come on either Facebook or Instagram, and it'll be like posted 3-4 hours ago, and it's like 7:00. No, that's real. That's real, man, and that's dope. Because even like yesterday, you messaged me to remind me about this thing today, and it was at when I hit you back, it was just after 3:00. And the thing is, I work nights.
Oh, you work nights?
Yeah, I work nights. So.
Oh, I'm thinking like you already sleeping.
No, I work evening. So
Okay.
when I saw your message, I actually had just gotten home.
Wow.
Yeah. So I work. I mean, for those that don't know, I drive a train at OC Transpo. So I work the evening shifts because, again, it works better for my family life.
Okay.
My wife also works. She works.
So you chose that?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. It just works out. It just works out for me because I guess in the city it's based on seniority. So like the older guys, when you go to book your work, the guys who've been there the longest basically gets to get the first dibs. But it works out for me because I even when I first started, I was working nights because I wanted to be home while my wife was working. I was with the children.
Oh,
and then when she's done, when she's done work, you know, whatever, I do my stuff, whatever, and then I go to work, and then whatever on my days off, you know, we kind of do more stuff together.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. My co-host has been quiet. Usually he's not that quiet.
No, usually it's been enjoying the flow that you guys are going through.
Yeah.
Right.
So I really didn't feel the need to, jump in and ask questions or anything like that.
I understand.
But a question I had in mind was like going all the way back to high school. Or just school in general.
Yeah.
Well, for a lot of us, whenever we're sort of given the talk to start thinking about the career that we want to get into, a lot of us are not that lucky to get into sports and knowing exactly what we want to do. So, like, what was your thought process in terms of like what career you wanted to get into?
It was
before basketball came into.
Yeah, before basketball even was even a thought. Like I wanted to be a pilot, like a commercial pilot.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anybody that was a pilot. I didn't know how to go about it. So
Yeah.
that, and I didn't pursue it hard enough to find that. So that kind of fizzled out for me. And then after that, I wanted to be a police officer, which the last time I really tried or was really interested in doing it was last year. I know a couple guys who were on the force, the OPS force, and one guy particularly, St. Pat's graduate. I think his name is Shabeen Tucker. He went to St. Pat's way back.
Way back? Okay.
Yeah, way back. Like,
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, Shabeen Tucker. I think he's Sergeant Shabeen Tucker. I reached out to him, and and he was kind of
giving you the steps.
Yeah, telling me, kind of like coaching me on what I should do and how I should go about it. But it just turned out in the end that when I applied for the train, I had gotten the position, I gotten the go ahead for the interview and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, that's also something I wanted to do. Like, working at OC Transpo, they can't have a train and I don't drive it. that was just my thought process, and that's the next level of transit in Ottawa. That's the direction that they're growing in. So I was like, there can't be a train and I don't drive the train. Like, I don't know anybody that drives the train.
I don't know anybody in the city.
Yeah,
drives the train.
yeah. So exactly, I don't know anybody in my community. So I was like, this is me, man. I have to do it.
That's good. Bro.
So yeah, but in terms of careers though, like the police thing, even when I went to university, the courses and classes I took were geared to me becoming a police officer at some point.
Oh, okay.
I took social science, I did sociology, I did politics, and that's why I said when I met my wife, she had just finished criminology. I was going to pursue a master's in criminology, which I was hoping was going to also set me up to get into that position to apply for the force and get in as well. But that I don't know, man. I just, up until last year, I was really thinking about it, but then like I said, the passion slowly started fading, and that's when I knew I didn't want to do that. If the passion once it started fading, I didn't want to go and force myself to go through the process and not feel like I'm fully committed to it. That wouldn't be fair to me, and that wouldn't be fair to anybody I would be working beside or even serving the community if I'm not genuinely passionate about doing the job how I'm supposed to do it. And there's no point in me doing it.
Yeah.
But in terms of also career-wise, obviously, at the time, from my parents and just from community elders, I'm sure you guys can attest to this.
Yeah.
There's always this notion of go to university or go get your education and go get a job. You know what I'm saying? But I think the biggest thing that's overlooked, even for me, and wish I had, is trades. Trades is a big thing, like carpentry, plumbing, electrical work, all that kind of stuff. I believe that's something that's overlooked, and it was overlooked back then because even the guidance counselors weren't telling anybody to go to school or go to Algonquin and learn these things. Like you go to Algonquin, it's kind of like people are looking down on you.
Yeah.
But then you go to university and you're just learning a bunch of theory that's not really applicable to anything afterwards. You have to go study something else, unless you do obviously business or accounting or you're taking courses that's going to prepare you to go transition into a family business or something like that. That's different. But like I said, coming from where we come from, we didn't have that. So going to school and going to learn a bunch of theory to go then apply for a job and hoping you get it, and then you don't get it, then you have to rethink your strategy, and you've already just spent a bunch of money going to school. But I think the biggest thing that people overlook, and it's getting better now, obviously. I think I see a lot of people doing that because renovations are cool. You have all these TV shows now that people are buying property, renovating it, flipping it, selling it, and people are seeing the value in that. But stuff like, like I said, like trades are a big deal, and I think are important and should never be overlooked. It's something I wish I had gotten into younger, because now I'd like to learn a few things, because my wife, she's into interior designs and that kind of stuff, and I like she teaches me a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, she teaches me a lot, and so while I'm learning, I was thinking, I often think like, I wish I had this
skills
earlier.
Yeah.
Because now I'll probably
have so much more options.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would be negotiating contracts to work for companies on my terms.
On your terms. Yeah.
Now the job I do, it's already written. Like, this is what you're going to get paid. This is what you're required to do. And that's that. I don't control that.
No.
The only thing I don't control anything, because even my day to day is based around going to work. I know I start work at, let's say I start work at 4 o'clock.
You have to be there.
I've been with the kids. I have to leave my house at a certain time. That's not my choice. Because
That's the job schedule.
I think it's my choice,
Yeah.
but it's not my choice because I have to leave a certain time to get there on time to start my shift. So ultimately, I guess I'm being controlled by the system, but that's life. That's the life you choose, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like if you were able to, go into trades or anything like that, you can start your own business, you can work on your own terms. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think those are things that people should look into now, because those opportunities are there. And with entrepreneurship growing at the level it's at now, I think it's important for people to look at ways where they can create something for themselves. And if they plan to have families and all that kind of stuff, that's something you could then hand over to your children. And it's important because now when your kids are going to school, you could guide them more in the direction of like, here's the family business.
Yeah.
Here's what it's doing. Here's what we hope to do. Here's what we think would benefit the business if you went to school and learned that, and then even come back and teach it to us, and then that's how you build and grow. That's in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
So yeah.
And it's good now with the experience you have that you can still instill that in your kids, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You can guide them better when they get into
sure.
school and all. The same thing for me. Like, I'm so glad I got to learn that, experience that, and how I was saying, like, I was so lost in school. I didn't really like the program I was doing.
Right.
I knew a couple people who took the same program. I took business entrepreneurship. Like, first year was fun. The second year was just like, I'm not really gonna. I don't want to continue with this because I don't see myself really need this program. And the only reason I really took that program was because the program that I wanted to get into, it was full. Because I wanted to play ball.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm just gonna take that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, obviously, if you're playing sports, that may alter your decision making in terms of your education. But I think certain things, if you're guided in it early enough, and you see the importance and value of it early enough, you have more direction when you choose your education or the state or the direction you go educationally, and how it will benefit you in the long run. And also, obviously, the emphasis was never put on, like, at least for me, I didn't feel like there was much emphasis on what was going to happen after school and after all that kind of stuff. It was more so, especially from a guidance counselor perspective. And I'm not dissing anybody who's a guidance counselor. I just felt like in high school it was just, okay, well, go to university, take these courses. You either go to university, or you either go to college, get your education, come out, and you get a job. That is so far from what happens. Unless somebody, like I said, unless you have a family business that says, go do this and come back and this is going to be your job and this is how much you're going to make and pay, whatever, get paid or whatever. That's not the case for a lot of people. You're going to go to school, get some kind of education, if anything, graduate, and realize that, what you thought you were going to get is so competitive out there, and all those positions are already filled, that now you got to rethink your strategy, which is either to go back to school, and if you have a bunch of debt, it's probably going to be to work a couple jobs to make enough money to pay those off, or pay enough, and then your next plan is to make some more money. So that when you go back to school, you don't have to take a loan out or whatever, and then that becomes a prolonged process. And then by the time you know it, like, you're in your 30s, you know what I'm saying? And you're looking to, if you want to start a family, now you have to.
You're not getting any younger.
Exactly, you're not getting any younger, so you have to look at ways to do that. But I feel like teaching and educating early, and letting people know what's truly what the process looked like for you, and what it could look like if you take certain steps. I think that would better prepare people on what to expect. But shout outs to the generation now. They have access to way more information than we did, especially with social media is not the greatest platform or the greatest example, but it is. There's a lot of good stuff on there as much as there's a lot of silly stuff on there. And I feel like this generation now is very tech savvy.
And COVID showed us.
Exactly. Yeah.
COVID showed us that like you can literally do everything through social media.
Right,
Like, it's-
right. And that's the thing, though. Again, that COVID did a lot of good for a lot of people because it also forced even grown-ups to rethink their strategy.
Yes.
Some people went and started their own businesses, something they probably was thinking about for a while, but didn't give themselves enough time or whatever, and now
it
they
kind of like forced them to do it.
it forced them to do
Yeah.
something different, and I'm sure a lot of people have been successful in doing that. And also, it allowed people to be more creative.
Yeah.
You know, I see a lot of people now in doing, you know, like I said, learning trades, whether through YouTube or YouTube is a good place to start.
It
but
is really a good place
obviously,
to
you
start.
can't be certified from YouTube videos, but it's a good
You
place
can get
to start.
lost.
To get
lost. Yeah.
It's a good place to get the
Yeah.
familiarity.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if you have the passion, then you can seek further education. That's just the way I see it.
Right. Focusing on your career, basketball can go all the way back to high school.
Right.
Obviously, you had a lot of competition. Right. You had to meet the physical requirements
Right.
to play the game, and then you had to compete against your teammates or your opponents.
Right.
Right. So obviously, you face a lot of adversity through going through all of that. So, what lessons did you learn from that adversity? How has it helped you today?
Lessons that I've learned. First and foremost, you have to
It's life.
Yeah, exactly. But you have to be able to listen, follow instructions. You have to be able to apply information that's been given to you, whether it's, you know, learning a new play and then executing it on the basketball court, whether it's also, you know, learning to work with others, as well as knowing when to compete and kind of exert your dominance, for lack of a better term. You know, there's a lot of life lessons that come from sports, and I think some of the most important ones are, you know, I guess taking information from a coach, allowing yourself to be coachable. That's key, because also in allowing yourself to be coachable, you're showing that you're able to work with other people without, you know, even if it's not favorable or seem favorable initially in your position. Also, you know, time management. You learn the importance of being responsible for yourself, also responsible for your teammates, because, for example, you know, at Woodruff especially, you know, and Phoenix, if a group of guys lived in one area or one part of town, like, you know, and you showed up by yourself, you know, that's considered or looked at as being selfish, especially if we live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Practice is at 4:00. I'm worried about getting there early so it can look good on me. You know, really, believe it or not, like, that was really, like, cool.
Well, like some guys want to be the first.
Yeah,
last.
that doesn't do anything. And I learned that. I remember that's
Yeah.
something I learned, like, you know, in high school, was that, you know, what sense how does it help the team if you're prepared and the guys that you should be depending on to help you, if they're not prepared?
Yeah.
So the importance is also learning to bring other people along. You learn to strengthen and motivate and inspire other people, because in the end, especially in a team perspective, it helps you as well. Because if the team looks good, you look good. But if you're out there, you know,
it's not this not everybody thinks like that.
no, but
You know, there's a lot of people, like just me playing basketball. They wanna look good individually as an individual.
They
They wanna be like the first and the last guy in the gym.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
When it's supposed to be a kind of like a team thing. I didn't know much about that earlier,
right.
but like as you get older, you start to realize that this whole group thing, this team thing, is not just one person. Even the best player, even the superstar, he needs the whole team, right?
That's the,
But like in high school, like the guys, the mentality is like you want to separate from the rest of the guys, which it shouldn't be the mindset. But that's not how, like, I played at St. Pat's, and it was like kind of a team thing.
right.
Like every activities that we do outside the court, it was kind of like it's always all about the team. I never really felt like I was kind of like being separated. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, like my comment is just like, back then, that's what the mentality should be. You know, like to make everybody look good, not just one person.
Yeah.
But like, it's hard to find
Naturally, some guys are naturally going to stand out.
Right.
That's a given. Not everybody has the same physical capabilities and attributes. Some guys are naturally faster, stronger, jump higher. Some guys naturally learn to shoot quicker, or shoot better quicker than others, or learn to handle the ball quicker, or just learn to play better basketball quicker than other guys. But the point of the matter is, while it's important for you to make sure that your individual attributes and skills are sharpened, it's also important for you to bring the other guys that are on your team or other guys around. You have to bring them along as well, because you guys go further that way. You win more that way. Because if it comes down to just you looking good and you doing everything, and you're playing against a team that's figured out that, if we all work together, it's going to work better. It's better for us. You're never going to beat them. And if you can't beat them, then it doesn't matter how many shots you make. Bottom line is you're not a winner.
Yeah.
It's better to take a guy who, let's say, average 15 to 20 points and is a winner and knows how to bring a team to a championship. That's the ultimate goal, right? As opposed to a guy who's scoring 40 points and can't win. What are you going to value more? The end goal is to win, right? And if you're not winning, then I don't care about your 40 points.
That's good, man. Yeah, now coming to an end, and I wanted to speak on your brother. It's a big accomplishment. Just the fact just getting drafted. Him and Meryl. This is people that I know and see putting in the work. Right. As a youngin, I went to school with both of them. Just seeing your brothers, younger than me, just seeing the way, he carried himself, I could see he had people that he was looking up to. And you as his brother, right? He had you and he had your older brother.
Right, yeah.
Which is like me, I wish I had that. I was the older brother. That's why when I dropped out of college, I really had to I have a brother and a sister looking up to me. I have to be somebody they can look up to and be like, my brother did this,
Right.
I want to follow the road that he took, So, and that's when I started looking people who are older, people who were just doing things that I was I was interested in, and you were one of them,
Right.
There's so much people, but I just wanted you to kind of give us how do you guys prepare your brother, because there's so many distractions. There's so many distractions. Everybody has a dream. Everybody has a talent. Everybody has a gift. But it's just to find that consistent and to just keep that vision or that mentality and do it over and over and over. It's hard.
Right.
And he made it to the big league. So can you just speak on that?
For sure. But he'll tell you as well as I will tell you, it started with our parents. My parents they're no-nonsense people. Like I said, they gave up a lot for us to come to Canada. Even though Neville was born here, but the fact that they moved here for us, basically, me and my older brother. Neville came along later.
So it's just you three?
Yeah, it's three of us.
Okay.
Yeah, so with that, they're like I said, even to this day, they'll parent me. They call,
that's the way it should be, man. Never gets old.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah.
They call me. They instruct me on how to instruct my children. They encourage me on how to treat my wife and how to have a lengthy marriage and that kind of stuff. So I credit them for any success I've had, and also Neville will tell you the same thing about him. It's just that they are just parents that they didn't sit by and let us, quote unquote, figure it out ourselves. Obviously, there's certain things that they can't do for us. They can give us the instructions, and we have to take that and apply it ourselves. But when you have somebody consistently encouraging you, but encouraging you. My parents are old school. Sometimes, growing up, if you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes there was some encouragement that you had to, that was verbal, and then there was, there's obviously more disciplinary approaches depending on how you were behaving.
Yes.
And I wasn't always, out of all three of my brothers, I wasn't the easiest one to deal with. So,
wow.
Yeah, yeah,
It's funny how you the quietest, right?
yeah. I mean, quiet to everybody else. But but for Neville is just Neville. He's a genuinely good guy. He's a genuinely good kid.
Yeah.
So it's not like we had to do anything more than we needed to do to get him to understand, like, the value of what you can do for yourself.
Right.
The goal was always, like I said, my older brother, he got married, he started his family, so he kind of set a standard based on following what my parents had done, and we followed, and then the next was me, and he did a lot for me, especially for me, allowing me to pursue what I did in basketball. There are summers where he worked and paid for my trips.
Wow.
To go to basketball tournaments or basketball camps. He did that. So when it was Neville's turn, naturally, it was my turn to play that role, as well as my parents or my brother. So he had the full staff. I mean, I had the full staff back then.
Yeah.
But, now when it's Neville's turn, I jumped in, and I was also, we're also pouring into him, whether it was giving him instructions, checking his report cards, because we were always on Neville. It doesn't matter what you want to play, sport you want to play, or whatever you want to go play in the States. First thing they're gonna do, and people, I don't know if some people don't understand. Like, you can have the most talent in the world, and I know, like, there's this notion that if I'm good enough, they'll make a way to get me on the team, but that's very far and few people that get that opportunity.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, you need to be able to prove that you can be some sort of a student to get into the school.
Student first, and
student athlete.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we were always on Neville about his schooling. Sometimes, for example, he was at St. Pat's, and one year one of his lowest marks was in gym, which was silly to me. Yeah, it was silly to me.
Yeah.
There's some politics behind that, but nonetheless, it was silly to me why you as an athlete, your lowest mark is in gym. Yeah, so just pointing out certain things to him, and the thing that I love and appreciate about Neville is that he took instruction. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he listened and he followed instruction. Me in my earlier stages, like I didn't take instruction. I didn't listen. You know what I'm saying? Like I had my idea of how things should go, and whatever happened, that's how it was gonna go. And the results, whatever the results were, they were my results. But I'm gonna do it my way. But I learned as I got older, and I learned to listen, and I learned to apply the instructions I was getting, and I saw the fruits of that. So it was easy for us to get behind Neville, and he's an easy kid, man. I'm telling you right now, he's an easy kid. For people that know him, he's a genuinely nice guy. He's fun to be around. He's good spirited. He's good hearted. So it wasn't a tough task. It's just that he listened and he applied it, and he's where he is because of that. It's just that simple. I'm not gonna say that, if I tell you to run 100 sprints and do 100 push-ups, you're gonna make it to the NBA or the NFL. That's not realistic.
Yes.
Because like I said, there's also certain physical attributes that you have to have.
Right.
He has that, but then he has all these other abilities and intangibles that build up his overall character, so that on top of being the physical specimen he is, all these other things that are around him, or that are part of him, makes it easier for people to work with him. It makes it easier for him to learn, and it makes it easier for people to want to work with him. You know what I'm saying? Because again, if you can't be a player that's coachable, it doesn't matter how good you are, people aren't going to want to work with you. Same thing in business. If people can't trust you, or or you're not providing a service that you said you would, or it doesn't matter how much you know about business, what you're presenting to me is not what I want. So you're not going to get my support. You're not going to get my money. So it's just there's things that you have to allow yourself to be in order for people to want to work with you, want to support you, want to be a part of you, and you have to allow those things to happen for people to trust that their time and whatever resources they're putting into you is going to be valued and used properly.
Yeah.
Like I say to a lot of people, nowadays, I don't really, if I don't trust that you're going to use my time and my resources properly, there's not much conversation. I don't really, with 3 children and a family at home,
You don't have the time.
I don't really have time to waste. So if we're doing something, first of all, you better be serious.
Yes.
And that's kind of like, because when Neville was making his moves, it was kind of the same things. Like, he came to our family and he was like, there's an opportunity for me to go to this prep school. This is what it's going to take, whatever. And, we had a family meeting and we basically said, like, yo, you got to be serious, though.
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to give you all these resources, we have to trust that you're not going to blow it and waste it. And we even gave him a timeline. We said, look, you're going to go down there for a year or whatever. And if we feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to, then you're coming home.
Yeah.
And then the rest, as we say, is history, because he is where he is right now, because he listened and he actually had a plan, and he was serious about his plan. And on top of that, the people that he went and thought would help him accomplish that, he listened to them, he took the advice, and he took the coaching. So there's a lot of things out there there's a lot of resources and people out there. Just that a lot of people nowadays
there's
don't want to
distraction there
too. Yeah, exactly. The distractions also. I'm on him every day.
Yeah.
Even when and I don't know if he's annoyed at it. Not so much more, because he's kind of a big deal now.
Yeah.
I have to give him space and let him be. He's Neville. He's a star. I gotta let him do that. I can't be out here trying to punk him off or whatever. I can't be doing that. That's silly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I have to let him be, and I have to. But ever so often I drop a little gem on him, like, yo, for example, this off season I said to him, like, teams know what you're gonna do now. They saw you play last year.
Yeah, come back.
There's a guy in a film room right now, watching film on you.
Yes.
Preparing his offensive line for you next season.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna be doing? Make sure you should be watching film on them, and working with your team and working with your coaches to prepare yourself and know what they're gonna throw at you, so you can be at least prepared for it, or one step ahead of it if they didn't prepare themselves properly. And also just life decisions. Being in the position he's in, we encourage him to make, decisions that are going to benefit him in the long run, financially, especially, because, the history about football players and professional athletes is, they get the money, they spend it faster than they get it, they live a life that's ridiculous.
Yes.
Some guys are able to do that because you look at the contracts they're getting, and even with that, some guys blow it. But we just want to, because the goal for him is, like, if you're gonna be in this position when you're retired, I shouldn't be, looking to get somebody to hook you up with a job anywhere. That's silly. You know what I mean? So just little things like that. Obviously, my parents, they parent me.
Yes.
They parent my older brother. They're on him too. Yes. And if they feel like, if they can't get a hold of him, especially if they can get a hold of him, they're gonna come to me and say, "Did you speak to your brother?" Well, I noticed something. I noticed this happened. I noticed whatever. Even, like, I try to tell my mother, especially, like, you can't be like. She doesn't understand social media or the media or whatever.
Yeah.
So if somebody, for example, said, we don't think Neville is good or whatever, she's gonna say, this guy, he said this, and what's his problem? I'd be like, yo, that's an opinion. It doesn't change anything what's going on with him. Just trust that, whatever. Or if something's happening in the States and she's like, I just saw some of this thing, and said, look, man, that's not it. You can't just jump into everything that you see and then start projecting it on him. Then you're becoming a distraction.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So also with that, we have to navigate that. But my parents are on us. They're more so in not like parenting, like, they can't send me to my room or ground me, obviously.
Yeah.
But they provide instructions in a way that allow me to receive it as a man, as opposed to, a child being commanded to do something, which is how they've evolved over the years. So they still parent, but, there's evolution in parenting as time goes.
Yeah. So is, like, how he played both sports, basketball and football? Mm-hmm. Football was always the number one?
Football was always his number one passion, but I think because I played basketball and he saw me play and how obviously people around him reacted to me playing basketball, and obviously how the community treated me as a basketball player, and naturally everybody was like, basketball.
Because he was good too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I felt like he was doing it more so because I did it, or my older brother played, and and everybody expected him to do that.
Yeah.
But I felt football was always his passion, and you could tell. I knew it by just how excited he was about football, how much time he spent learning about football. He did basketball because we did it, but you could tell the passion and commitment. Even off the court, you know, he was more into football stuff than basketball stuff. So obviously, you know, I'm happy he made the decision he did. I'm happy I supported him in the decision, because I could have easily kept trying to, you know, that's whack. You know, play ball. I played ball. You know, I could have been a dream killer.
So that's crazy. Yeah.
But
so do you think the decision of him leaning more towards football, like for like, just, you know what, let me just focus on football, was when in grade 9, of course, I was part of that team. They wanted him to play seniors with us. Do you think that's when you guys decided, you know what, don't play it because we want you to play juniors?
Yeah, well, I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the deciding factor, because once he decided, like, you know, well,
I can't play basketball that year.
I can't play the basketball that year, especially because, you know, we didn't want him to play senior coming out of grade 8. We wanted him to get some experience at the junior level, continue to dominate, and then carry that confidence over. That was my approach to him. And when that didn't happen and he decided he wasn't going to play, he was just like, yo, I still have football. I love football. I'm good at football. I'm going to stick with football. And I was like, yo, at that point, I didn't even stress nothing about basketball. I was like, yo, whatever you're going to do, just make sure you commit to it and give it all you got and pursue it with the passion that you want. Even if you choose not to play basketball and play football, you still got to take it serious. Yeah. Or else you're just wasting your time.
Because I think if he did play for seniors, because I remember my first year, grade 9, I played both sports. I played soccer, because soccer it's like it's not around the same time.
Right.
So I play soccer, then I play basketball. But because in high school, it's longer than our high school. So you technically, plus the school, you still got to do your work. It's hard to do all those sports and still focus on school.
Right.
So when I was doing soccer, I was like, the love was more on basketball. So I was like, you know what? Let me just focus on one sport and not do soccer. So I don't know if he did play seniors that year. Let's say you guys, you know, said yes.
Yeah.
Because what they do, if you're really good, they'll force you to just play that sport.
Right.
So I don't know if that will happen to him.
Nah, he made the right decision, man.
No, I know he made the right decision. I just like just how things end up happening.
I mean, I guess in the end it worked out for the better.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can say about that. Is in the end it worked out for the better. You know, there's obviously a lot of what ifs, you know, but ultimately the decision he ended up making and the fact that, you know, we had the courage to support him kind of worked out in his favor. So I mean, I'm not gonna start saying what if or what could have happened.
No, you can't.
I don't want to, you know, make people think I'm salty about anything, because I'm not.
Yes, sir.
But, you know, it is what it is. You know, it worked out the way it worked out, and it worked out for the better in the end. So it's all good.
So like doing at the time when he was preparing to go to the States, that was after grade 10, right?
Yeah, but the thing is actually the school he went to was in St. Catharines, so it's in Ontario. Okay. You know, it was a prep school in Ontario called Canada Prep Football Academy.
Yes.
The good thing about that program though was that they played an all-U.S. schedule. The school was in Canada, but they only played against U.S. schools. And the coach was actually a guy, you know, he long story, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
He came from the States. He went to California. He played with Aaron Rodgers at Cal. Yeah. And he was also a big-time name in college football. And, you know, injuries stopped him from having the pro career that he wanted. But he somehow ended up in Canada and was coaching at his prep school. He saw Neville at a camp, and, you know, he reached out to us. Yeah. Reached out to Neville, and, you know, we kind of like, okay, that's when Neville said, you know, this is an opportunity I want to pursue, you know, and we gave him our blessings. Went behind him 100%, and then it worked out because also this guy, based on the caliber person he was in NCAA football, he knew a few people, so he was able to get people to come down to the school and look at Neville, or when they went on their games or whatever. If he knew people in the area, he'd be able to plug them in. Yes, that's part of it. That's part of how it worked out. Is just getting the right people there, and the rest was, you know, also the work that Neville did to get himself noticed and recognized.
Man, that's great, man.
So as we're sort of coming down to the last couple of minutes of this episode, I guess I have one final question. you sort of stated earlier that in today's time with like the internet in general, information, education is just out there. It's just up to us to go out and research. Right. For me, I do my best to just learn as much as I can from many different sources. Right. And just to learn to be as open-minded and get many different perspectives from here and there. So what sort of recommendations do you have to get some information to learn about, I don't know, anything?
That's a great question, because we all know, because there's so much information out there, it's not all good information. So I think, especially on social media, make sure that the people you're getting information from are credible people, and you'll know by what they post. And they usually have links that attach, maybe like a business or a company or something to them. Just make sure you're following people that you know and trust are providing you with valuable information. Also, there's social media is also great, but there's also books. There's books you could go purchase for anything these days. I think that's one thing people shouldn't overlook. Don't just look at the quick fix on YouTube or whatever. There's ways to get more detailed information. I think books are still a good source. Also, for people, there are people out there who have experiences in many different avenues and many different ventures that you can still reach out to, and I'm sure they'll be willing to share some information with you. Also, there's nothing wrong with, a lot of people also have courses in certain, you'll see like a lot of people now, especially on giving courses and skill sharing, and
Udemy.
Exactly, stuff like that. There's always people out there. You may have to pay for it, but if you're looking for something specific, you shouldn't have a problem paying for it if you have like a long-term goal that you may benefit. So there's always there's tons of different opportunities. There's tons of people in the community that you can reach out to, whether in whatever field you're designing and just getting an understanding. And also ask people about the resources. If you see somebody doing something you're interested in, you can also tap in with them and see what resources they've used to help their knowledge. There's always those opportunities. Social media is kind of like, it's a good place to look to perhaps get an idea you wanna build on, but don't neglect the other places like books and actual people who have those lived experiences. Those are out there too. And also, don't be afraid to spend for something. If you really want to learn something or are passionate about something, it's not always going to be free. And you shouldn't always expect that because somebody is doing it or have done it, that they need to do it for you for free. Maybe that's how they make their living. And you should be willing to support somebody in their avenue in return for you wanting them to support you in yours as well. So those opportunities there. I just encourage people to obviously do your research. Look around, because there's so much information out there. It's not all good information, but there is good information if you look in the right places or touch elbows with the right people. That's always been there.
Yeah. And my last question would be, it's a quote that I wanted to get your thoughts on, and is, this secret of your future is hidden on your daily routine. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's a fact, man. It's what you do, basically, what you do now is going to determine what happens next for you.
Right.
And that's just basically it. What you have, what your future goals are, and what's ahead for you. Yeah. Even if it's it may seem like a long route away or a long ways off, you still have to do the now. You still have to work on the now. What you do now is going to transpire into what that is. When you get there, if you've been doing the work now, you'll be prepared when you get there. So you'll increase your chances of success, as opposed to if you try to cheat the system and don't do any prep, don't do anything now, whatever. Hope to get there. You can't cheat it, because you're gonna get exposed. Yeah. It's impossible. You are gonna get exposed. So you have to do the work now, and that work you do now determines what will happen next, and next being what you'll be doing in the future.
Yeah. And I think I said down one of my quotes, my morning quotes, I think it was Tuesday. I said, you can't cheat the grind. If you cheat, you can't achieve it. It's plain and simple, because I could speak on that, because I've been doing so consistently for 5 years now, and I just continue to grow. And of course, it's not easy. You have days that just so hard. But because I've been doing so consistent, it's automatically, it's just
Exactly.
like I know I have to, as my body wakes me up.
Yeah.
And for me to feel like to go and chase, I have to be in bed a certain time so I'm able to do the same thing the next day. It's like what you do every single day, and it's a key. It's the key to achieve your goals. Just to have a positive mindset and to keep moving when things not going your way, because there's gonna be a lot of bumps along the way, So yeah, man, So
Exactly.
I love to. I like to end it here. It's a good. A lot of things that I didn't know about you that I learned today. A lot of good game that I learned. So good luck on everything.
Yeah.
With the brand.
Thanks.
Just with the fam and everything. And I want to stay connected with you. I want to do more stuff with you in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming through.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yes,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you as well. I really like opportunities that allow me to speak and share what I have and what I know. Without the last
That's a lot, man.
I feel like it's
That's a lot.
I feel like it's my due diligence to, if somebody reaches out and I can help them or share something with them, I'm always for it.
Thank you,
So,
man.
yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you. Yeah. See you in the next one.
All right, guys.